Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan Hasn't Seen, and for some reason I'm talking like this today because it's early in the morning and I'm still asleep. Jeannine the Machine is with me as she has been for the past two of this new show, and she will be for the future of this show as well. If I can't get my words out correctly, it's because I'm tired and it's early morning and I have coffee, but we're powering through anyway, aren't we, Jeannine? Hello.
Hello, we are. And it's not, I guess it could be early morning for me, but it's still kind of night for me as well. So I'm doing okay.
Is that for you? Recording scheduling is an interesting
Yes.
beast.
About an 8-hour gap. So we're making it work. We're making it work.
Yeah, it works. It's all good. It's wonderful.
Yes.
So, we are carrying on with our MCU, or my unseen MCU, I should probably say, considering this show now has a name. Did it have a name
It
last
did not.
week?
It was just that thing show.
It was still that thing show last week. But yes, we are in our third week of 6 in our MCU pilot edition of Morgan Hasn't Seen. Whether it stays being called Morgan Hasn't Seen, because maybe it also transfers to Jeannine Hasn't Seen.
It can.
Maybe it just goes to People Haven't Seen, or We Haven't Seen. What about We Haven't Seen? Although I'm sure that's an already a show that exists. And I've rambled on for enough. Today we're talking about the third movie in the MCU, Iron Man 2, because guess what? I haven't seen it.
Yep.
So, Jeannine, Iron Man 2, what did you think of it when you first saw it? Presumably you first saw it back in 2010 when it came out.
Yes. I did enjoy this movie. I found some plot points to be a little unnecessary. The villain was a bit generic, but I had fun with it as I became a huge fan of Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. So I did enjoy it.
And how does this compare to the first Iron Man for you? Because I think I have quite an interesting feeling towards that.
I definitely prefer the first Iron Man, just how they set everything up, introduced the character. Yeah, definitely not as good as the first for me.
As a movie, not as good as the first, and I think I do agree with that. I think the first is a better overall movie because, like you said, and I kind of want to bring that up first, there is kind of unnecessary stuff in Iron Man 2 when there doesn't really need to be. I feel like if it would have left out the whole we need a new arc reactor thing.
Yeah, the palladium poisoning.
Yeah. The thing that's keeping you alive is actually killing you. It's like, okay.
But I mean, that could have been kind of interesting, but it was kind of solved before the third act, and it didn't really change anything. So, kind of what was the
point? To give Tony a cooler look,
I guess.
Probably, because he now had that weird triangle thing.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That was the whole point of that whole storyline.
whole point of the whole story. And who wrote it? Justin Theroux that wrote this.
Yes, Justin Theroux wrote this.
So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I didn't realize how much stuff has Justin Theroux wrote?
He wrote Tropic Thunder, I believe.
Oh, okay. See, you should know this.
He has a good sense.
I don't know this.
He has a good sense of things at times, and he's a great actor, but...
He is a great actor.
I mean, all the time spent on this whole palladium poisoning and discovering a new element could have been spent developing the villain more, because the villain kind of got sidelined at a point and just kind of became really cartoonish and generic. And
I completely agree with that. It also doesn't help that he's Russian.
And
being played by an American.
yeah, and I think I remember hearing that Mickey Rourke was dating a Russian woman at the time.
Oh dear.
She shamed him on how terrible his accent was.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good Russian accent. Mickey Rourke doesn't even look Russian. He looks like a weird biker. He looks like he belongs in Sons of Anarchy.
He does.
I didn't really understand Mickey Rourke's motivation until it was flat out told to me.
Yeah, I kind of had to tell you. I'm like, did you see the blueprints at the beginning? You kind of see that his dad's name is on the blueprint, so there's some kind of revenge and
Yeah, I think that's just me being simple
yeah,
as opposed to the movie.
and expecting it to be a little more obvious, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, because it seemed easy to follow in the first time.
Yeah,
This felt more, this villain, definitely Vanko. Is it Ivan Vanko?
yes,
Felt more like the Abomination from last week's Incredible Hulk.
yeah,
Just in terms of someone that for some reason doesn't like the hero and, you know, turns into essentially the evil opposite of the hero to fight them.
essentially. But I mean, they had some stuff that they put in there to make a connection, but they didn't
Yeah.
go anywhere with it because they spent all this time with him getting poisoned, and then they had
Yeah.
a bunch of characters they had to introduce. So going with that, what did you think of the new characters that you saw?
I think that's the best part of Iron Man 2. That was definitely my favourite part of Iron Man 2. I definitely found more stuff to enjoy in the parts with War Machine, with Black Widow, with Nick Fury. I enjoyed those more so than maybe anything in the first Iron Man.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of interesting for you because I mean, you have seen later
It is.
MCU movies, so you know these characters in the MCU.
I do.
But this
I
is
know
now
them
where
from
you,
a point.
yeah, so now you've got to see their introduction. So does that like make you like them more or make them more interesting to you or
It makes War Machine more interesting because I just always saw him from where I started watching. So War Machine maybe. I don't know where does he show up a lot in the first Avengers? I feel like he doesn't.
no, he doesn't.
Is it Ultron?
Ultron is where I think you
So,
get more of him
Ultron-
after this movie. And then you
Ultron
get him
would
a
have
lot in
been
3, Iron Man 3, and then I think
Okay.
Ultron is the next.
Okay. So Ultron would have been my starting point with War Machine. And I just always saw him as Tony's best friend
Yeah.
who dresses the same as him but has a big gun on his back.
Yeah.
But yeah, this gave me a bit more insight into Rhodey, and I kind of like that. I like Don Cheadle. I think I prefer
Yeah.
Don Cheadle than Terrence Howard.
Yeah. And they had a good
who was in the
dynamic.
first.
They had good
did.
chemistry. They were funny together. You
They
saw
did, and
the conflict made sense.
Yeah, it's fun because they do have that conflict to begin with.
Yeah, of him like doing his duty as a
yeah.
military person and also wanting to like support his friend, but he also has to kind of do his job. So
And I think, to be honest, that still kind of holds true with
yeah.
Rhodey. He still likes, or at least, you know, well, yeah, I mean, I suppose in Infinity War as well, even though he's very, very small part of the whole big picture, but you still get the idea that he has more, he's more reserved than Tony. He's more sort of thinks things through.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though he looks like he could be way more destructive because he has,
All those
especially
guns.
in Infinity War when he's, you know, flying through Wakanda, dropping all those bombs on
Oh
people.
yeah. But yeah, I definitely
And
liked his character. The second
yeah,
black character introduced into the MCU, so that was nice.
yes, yeah.
What did you think of Black Widow?
Black Widow, honestly, I didn't sort of. I wasn't as intrigued by as I was by the intro of War Machine.
Okay.
I think in future movies, when Black Widow becomes more sort of where you get a little bit of that backstory, I think that's when Black Widow becomes intriguing to me. That when that was in Ultron as well.
I do believe so. Or was it in Avengers?
Might have been in
First Avengers?
Avengers. I can't quite remember. But when you get a bit more of Natasha's backstory is when she becomes really interesting to me, and she's a cool character, of course.
Oh,
She's a
yeah.
badass. And yeah, it's a nice intro to her because really, I'm sure everybody knew who she was, and of course I knew who she was going to turn out to be. But it's nice to see like a bit of Nick Fury playing around, being a bit all secretive.
Yeah.
Um,
Her
but
fights
yeah,
were really cool. I like that
her
whole
fights are
that hallway fight with Happy, like taking out that one guy, and she takes out like 7 guys.
Happy's really pleased with himself.
Yes, I got him, and then he looks down the hall. But I like that they gave
Yeah,
him a little action sequence, so that was kind of fun. He
yeah,
gave
it
himself a
is.
little action sequence, I should say.
Yeah, and I mean he did. Well, yeah, that is true. I I kind of find it interesting that I think that the first time I saw Happy Hogan in a movie was Spider-Man: Homecoming,
Oh my gosh! And to see he was from the very beginning.
because he's there from the very beginning. Because
And
he's
you had
not in
Gwen.
any Avengers movie,
No.
and obviously he's not going to show up in a Captain America movie
Yeah, no.
or anything else.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's
I
so
found that
true.
weird. Yeah, because he's been one of those names that's just been like, yeah, he's a character in the MCU, but I don't really know anything about him. I know
Yeah.
he's played by Jon Favreau. I know he's in Iron Man movies. That's about it. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, it's
Wow.
he's a nice little sort of he's a nice character for Tony to play off. I think he also I think he gets slightly better in stuff like Homecoming.
Yeah, well now
I think he's
he might
more
be hooking it up with Aunt May, so
well. Who knows?
in Far From Home he has a little flirty scene with Aunt May. And Peter's like, what just happened?
I'm sure. I'm sure everyone has flirty scenes with Aunt May these days. I think it's the main gag of Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
I'm
Hot
not
Aunt
sure.
May.
I'm not sure quite how Marissa Tomei feels about it all.
I'm sure she enjoys being hot Aunt May.
Well, yeah. I'd like to think so, but people go on about it a lot.
It's a thing.
It's really a thing. Anyway, back onto
Okay, Iron Man.
back onto Iron Man 2. Yeah, about the whole sort of villain development. Very two-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, he wants revenge on Tony for Howard Stark sort of shunning his father who helped with certain projects, and basically Howard Stark took all the credit for something that was done by him and Ivan Vanko's dad, who I forget the name of, presumably some other stereotypical Russian name, because
Yeah.
it just would have to be. But yeah, then he gets employed by Sam Rockwell.
Justin Hammer. So what did you
Justin
think of
Hammer.
Justin Hammer?
I kind of really like Justin
Right?
Hammer,
Tony just like undermining him and making him look like an idiot at every turn was
but I
a
think
lot
that's
of
why I
fun.
like him. I like him because he's just like he's the guy that gets picked on when he's only trying to do things right as well.
Yeah.
He's also funny. He can also come in with the quips every now and again. He's also Sam Rockwell,
Yes. A slightly
which
incompetent Sam Rockwell.
slightly incompetent Sam Rockwell, yeah, but no, I like Sam Rockwell, and yeah, I like Justin Hammer. I like that whole idea of the
Rival.
rivalry
Yeah.
between him and Tony, even though Tony's clearly the far more
Superior.
successful one.
Yes.
Because he would have to be, because he's Tony Stark and he's the most arrogant person on the face of the earth.
Okay, well, after that, now you were not a fan of Tony Stark, the person in the first Iron Man. Has Tony Stark redeemed himself a bit more in this movie for you?
Honestly, yes.
Oh, good. Okay, what did he do that like made
I'm
you?
not. I'm not quite sure why. I think it's probably him showing his sort of human sensitive side more, whether it's the romance with Pepper and the cuteness between them,
Oh
because I
yeah,
really
I
think they
love
are a
that.
very yeah, I think they are a very sweet couple.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe it's that. Of course, the first scene of Iron Man 2 is basically I'm Tony Stark, I'm the greatest human being that's ever lived.
That whole
And I
Senate
hated that. I
meeting.
hated every second of it.
The Senate
Because,
meeting was hilarious. Okay.
no, I can't get into it. I don't know. I just like people to be humble, okay?
Okay. Okay, you're
That's why
so
I like,
nice,
that's why
Morgan.
I like Steve Rogers.
Oh my gosh.
Steve Rogers doesn't know how good he is.
Uh-huh. He's such a goody goody.
Yeah, exactly. Tony, yeah, though I remember talking about in when we covered Iron Man the first, how I like that Tony Stark has become way more humble in later movies.
Yeah.
Like current Tony Stark, I think I'm gonna love Endgame Tony Stark
Oh, definitely.
because he's just gone through the hell of that.
But even in Civil War, like his whole
Yeah,
reasons for wanting to do the Sokovia Accords is because, he's realizing what they're doing, that they're possibly hurting people, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah. No, it is that it's an understanding of Tony, or a liking of Tony's character more in later ones, because he seems to care about people as we go on and on and on. And Iron Man 2 showed that more for me than Iron Man 1 did.
okay, and it's mostly the
And I prefer,
moments with Pepper
yeah,
kind of helped
mostly
endear
the
him.
moments with Pepper,
Okay.
but also the moments when he's watching that film of Howard
Okay.
Stark. That was kind of sweet, really. I just it's a character arc,
Yeah.
which is exactly what it should be. You know,
Yeah.
it's how you build a character. You don't have to like a person to enjoy what they're doing with a character.
But since you kind of got introduced to him later on, you already kind of started out liking him, right?
I started out maybe not liking him as much as everyone else though.
Okay.
I think he's always been like, because everybody, of course, has always said Iron Man's the best in the MCU. I was like, he's not though, is he? Because you've got like 5 other people that I prefer watching
Yeah.
to him. I even prefer Bruce Banner, both versions of Bruce Banner.
But so
Still,
seeing his journey, seeing where his arc is going so far, does that add anything to Tony Stark now for you?
it does, because it makes me realise how far he's come.
Okay.
in terms of being a caring person, which is nice. I think it makes me appreciate the character of Tony Stark more, which is all I can ask, really. You know, I respect the character. I'm also, in terms of Civil War, was never on Tony Stark's side,
But you could see why he was.
but I could see his reasons,
Okay. Okay.
and could, you know, the finale of Civil War is very heartfelt for Tony,
Yeah.
and yeah, he definitely becomes more likable to me in later movies. But yeah, I can already see the progression in Iron Man 2, which is, again, something I really did like about Iron Man 2, even though everybody seems to hate it.
Well,
Um,
I mean, now I'm curious for you to see 3 because there are some elements in there that I think you might enjoy. While there are
okay.
some ridiculous things that people hate in that movie, I think there are some elements with Tony emotionally that I think you will enjoy.
Okay. See, yeah, Iron Man 3 has always seemed like a weird one because people either absolutely love it or it's the worst one for them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know what to make of Iron Man 3. And I mean, we're not going into Iron Man 3 next,
No.
but when
We're
we
going
do, it should be very
into
interesting.
something
We're
you're
going
very
into, we're going into Thor next, aren't we? And I am very excited about that.
yeah.
Because I do like Thor. I do like Thor, I do like mythology, and you may say Thor 1 is a little bit boring and slow, but I don't think I'll care because it's full of gods.
And you'll get to see Loki's introduction, which will be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're actually going to get a good villain
Yes.
coming up, because we've had the Ironmonger, who, yeah, Jeff Bridges, yeah, he's great, but he's a guy in a big iron suit who wants revenge, or not wants revenge, but doesn't
want to stop making weapons and making money.
Yeah. doesn't want to stop. The Abomination, who I'm still not really sure what the Abomination's problem was,
Yeah.
but he becomes, you know, a big, huge green monster who fights the big, huge green monster. Then you have Ivan Vanko, or Whiplash,
Yes, a Whiplash.
who is a lot cooler right at the beginning when he's got his electric whips on the Formula One racetrack.
Yeah, but
Or if it's Formula One, I don't know. They go to Monaco. They go to the Monaco Grand Prix at some point.
yes.
That's Formula One. Yeah, it is there. So, yeah, he's a lot cooler then. I like that design. I'd rather them just stick with that rather than put him in Iron Man suit. Because then you have Iron Man, War Machine, and Vanko all in Iron Man suits.
Yeah. So actually, what did you think about that whole fight sequence in the Zen garden place?
I think the final battle is better in this movie than it was in the first Iron Man.
Okay.
Actually, maybe it's just because Jeff Bridges' suit was just big and hulking and ridiculous.
Yeah. I liked the dynamic of the two of them, the teamwork, the fighting together, the back and forth, the banter and whatnot. That made it fun.
Rhodey helps this fight work a lot, and it's nice that you also have the sort of secondary fight with Black Widow and Happy Hogan that's just come a bit before.
Yeah. What did you... Go ahead.
Go, because you were asking a question and I cut you off. No.
That's okay. I was going to ask you what you thought of the fight between the two of them in the Iron Man suits, the Rhodey Iron Man fight. Before he's like War Machine, when he just kind of borrows one of Tony's suits to stop him from being drunk and crazy at a party.
Yeah, it's less of a sort of big spectacle fight, and I focused on that more in terms of this is just them getting through what they have to get through in order to both come to the realization that they are just friends who should work together.
And I think it also helps them come to the realization that if they both just put their blasters together, they can make a big explosion, which comes back into the story later on.
Yeah, very successful teamwork
Yes.
from Tony and Rhodey.
Yes.
So you've got to love that. I was not a fan of that weird senator guy.
Oh yeah, which now knowing that he's a Hydra agent, did that?
He is.
Yes, he did the famous "Hail Hydra" whisper.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't like him, and it was funny to me. That was a very, very funny scene, right? At the end, where he's the one who has to award them.
Yes.
That was a time that was very funny to me. And there is quite a bit of humour, and some of Tony's quips and whatnot are very funny to me.
Even Rhodey got some good quips as well.
Even Rhodey got some good quips. Sam Rockwell got some nice little humour moments in there.
He had to have some dancing in there.
Yes, of course. The dancing was... But I don't know what these sort of events are. These expos that they put on. They seem very over the top.
I think it's kind of supposed to be just like an upgraded version of those like World of Tomorrow expos that you saw like in Captain America, the first Avenger. It's like that. The Stark Expo. I guess it's kind of supposed to be like those, old, like in the 50s and 40s, those come see the world of tomorrow.
Yeah. I just don't know why there's dancing.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with dancing. Sam Rockwell's a very good dancer. But yeah. Ultimately, I think I kind of liked Iron Man 2 more than I was expecting to. Which is nice. It's quite similar with Hulk in that way. But again, not this isn't in any way sort of me saying I preferred the character of Tony Stark in this movie to the character of Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk, because if you had listened to what we were talking about in that episode, you'll realise that I really liked Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk.
So fair to say that so far of the three, The Incredible Hulk is the one you like the most?
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
It is. And the best movie, the best actual made film that's fully coherent and technically everything was the first Iron Man. It's just not my preferred of the three. Purely from a story and character and favourite point of view. There are plenty of wonderfully made films that I don't really care for, and plenty of poorly made films that I love. So,
but I think it was the character elements in Incredible Hulk that got you to enjoy that the most of the three so far.
Definitely, exactly that. And I think what I liked, like I said before, what I liked most about Iron Man 2 was the fact that it starts to feel very much like an MCU movie that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Because I came into the MCU firstly. Well, my first watch of my first movie in the whole universe was the first Avenger. So that's a standalone thing.
Yeah.
But my second movie I ever watched in the MCU was Ultron. So that's got everyone in.
Yeah.
So this felt very much more like an MCU movie that I was familiar with because it had all these other characters in.
And the kind of team-up elements. And
the team-up element, I knew who everyone was even before technically everyone else would have known who everyone was, because everyone saw this in 2010 when it came out, and I'm seeing it now in 2019. It's a bit ridiculous, but blame Avengers Endgame for me wanting to fill out my MCU knowledge. It is good.
Finding some interesting things and developing characters that you know already a little bit more. And I think that makes it for a fuller, more interesting watch for you going forward.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know. I want to get a bit more of what you feel about Iron Man 2 because I feel like I've talked a lot, as I often do.
Well, you're the one who hasn't seen it. I've seen it.
I am the one who hasn't
multiple
seen it.
times. But
I am the one who hasn't seen it. But I mean, like, what are some of your favorite elements to it?
well, as a rom-com lover, I do love all the Tony and Pepper stuff. You know, their dynamic is very adorable. And I like that they got more of their romance kind of building in this movie. I liked his whole relationship with Rhodey. That was really fun. Nick Fury was got a little bit more from him, and got some little Easter eggs. You got the Wakanda map in the background, and you kind of got to see, like their plans. I liked that whole scene of him, like, if he was like good enough to be an Avenger. He showed him the file, and he was not recommended to be an Avenger. So I liked that they were building on the whole Avengers initiative and what that's going to look like. So that was some more big universe building. But yeah, the action was better, I think, in this movie, the fights. But yeah, the villain was very disappointing, and I'm just kind of was not feeling that whole palladium poisoning storyline because it didn't really go anywhere. It didn't really change anything except the triangle on his suit as opposed to just a circle. And that time could have been spent developing all these new characters that you're introducing us to, could have developed the villain more to make him more interesting. So that was kind of a letdown. Justin Theroux. But
blame Justin Theroux.
Definitely not the best for me in the Iron Man series. The first one is definitely my favorite.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you prefer the third one?
No. I do not.
Okay, you do not like the third.
I wouldn't say I do not like it. There are a lot of things to like about the third one.
Is it quite similar to this one for you then?
They try to do something interesting with the villain, and then it takes a turn where the villain becomes generic again. But I like that they do some things with Tony's character emotionally that's interesting. Even just how it starts is really funny. And there's some fun dynamics there. Happy gets a little bit more to do, which is fun. And yeah, I think you'll find some things you like in 3, but I think 3, I like less than this one because that whole twist just disappointed me a lot.
Right. So it's really all... And I mean, I know that twist because I've not been able to avoid knowing something like that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that is clearly so very much a problem for so many people.
Yeah, people love it, but I personally am not one of them. I was just very irritated because you have this actor, you have this great build-up, you think, oh, this is going to be finally a cool villain in this trilogy of movies.
You waste.
And then it turns into the same kind of villain from the first 2 movies. So that just kind of makes me like this one a little bit more than 3.
How dare you waste Ben Kingsley, Iron Man 3.
And even Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce.
Yeah, because Guy Pearce plays the actual villain in Iron Man 3, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, yes. Anyway, that looks to about be wrapping us up for episode 3 of Morgan Hasn't Seen. Or whatever we actually do end up calling it. That's
Somebody hasn't seen.
that's the working title.
Yeah.
I think.
As they say in the movies.
As they in the movies.
No working title.
Yeah. But Iron Man 2, I did enjoy. Again, similar to Hulk, I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I found more stuff to like in there than I thought I would. The world building is very good, as you mentioned. I loved the pointed out Easter egg of Wakanda glowing in the map behind them, because that is very early to be teasing something like that.
Yes.
So, and that's that's what the MCU's always done very, very well, is having teases in it like that, and being able to, for people to ask questions like, oh my god, was that work? Not that anybody would have known unless you'd read anything.
And just to
But
pay
you'd be
those
like, oh my
off
God.
down the line. Even the whole thing with
Yeah.
the little boy with the Iron Man mask at the
Yeah.
expo, that was Peter Parker.
But I almost think that was an unintentional one, though.
That was not planned. That was
Definitely
definitely
no.
not planned. But it just kind of worked.
It does work. It does work. Although I'd almost like to see it brought up again by
Yeah.
Peter. Like, do you remember that time I met you and I was dressed as you, and it was at that expo and I was really excited and I was like 8? It'd have been fun.
Yeah, that would have been perfect. Maybe they'll do. Maybe it'll happen if everybody
Maybe they
gets
will do.
through Endgame. Oh god.
Everybody's getting through Endgame. Am I going to be disappointed by
I don't
Endgame if they
know.
bring everyone back?
Are you going to be disappointed if you lose your favorite Captain America?
No, because I've resigned to the fact that he's dying.
Okay. You prepared
So
yourself.
it's just going to happen. So it's just, yeah, I have no feelings towards it because it will just be expected.
Okay.
So but
Mentally
it's like,
prepared yourself.
you have to kill big people, right? I want at least 4 huge deaths. Seriously.
Oh gosh. That's
I
scary.
want a complete revamp. Because that's the only way it's going to be truly, hugely satisfying for me.
Okay.
Because I can't have them bringing everyone back.
And know
And they
that
just be
that
like,
can just
it's
be
all great.
Yeah, know that can just be a solution anytime. There's no stakes. Yeah, I like the idea that there are stakes. I will
Definitely.
admit, you don't like to see people you love and have loved for this amount of time, 10 years plus,
Yeah.
die, but you want to know that there are
Like,
stakes and
I've
things mean things.
Yeah, like I've heard people talk about the fact that they might bring Loki back, and don't do that. As much as I love Thor and the Asgardians and everything, don't bring Loki back. That's a bad idea.
Stick to that choice. As much as I love Loki and he has had worn the crown of the best MCU villain for so long.
And then it was taken off him by the man who killed him.
Yes. But even then, he wasn't really a villain anymore. He kind of redeemed himself. And
Yeah.
So, I definitely think they should stick with some of the bigger choices, at least.
Like, I understand, okay, bring all the dust people back,
Yeah.
but also kill a couple of them in the end anyway.
Oh, God.
Just because you have, please. Okay. Wait, no, actually.
Okay.
Don't
okay.
kill the dust people. Bring the
Okay.
dust people back. Kill the 2 of the people that are already still here.
So, you're thinking Gamora, Loki.
Oh, Gamora. Sack Gamora. Gamora's
Gone.
flown off an edge.
Loki, Vision,
Vision's dead. Vision's
and
gone.
who else? You said 4.
Steve.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. What if Gamora... Because Gamora is basically the Soul Stone.
Yes. So if they do
So-
reverse it, then she would have to come back.
Yeah, okay. I think I could buy Gamora. Coming back.
Okay.
Just for that. And also, mind you, who knows what happens with who knows what's happening with Guardians these days.
Yeah.
So, who knows what they decide to do with that. I don't think I'll be mad either way on Gamora, to be honest.
Yeah. But just as long as there are some significant losses.
Just as long as my boy Steve Rogers dies. Be happy.
So twisted, Morgan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be. Oh, it's a satisfying character arc.
You're so British right now.
It's like, okay, let's have a look at another character arc, and we're not even talking about the MCU anymore. Jaime Lannister.
Okay.
I love Jaime Lannister these days. He has the best arc in all of Game of Thrones.
I would agree
and
with
the
that.
Song of Ice and Fire, because you hate him, and then you come to know him truly, and then you end up loving him. And if he does not die in season 8 of Game of Thrones, I am going to be very mad.
Okay. I guess I get where you're coming
Death!
from. Death means stakes. Death means things mean something.
Death means things mean something. And I know it's comic books in the MCU, and everybody always comes back from death. But this is also movies. You don't have to do that. I think it'd be a lot bolder. And as much as the MCU is going to be in the history of the world culture for God knows how long, it'll be more well revered. And certainly Endgame will be more well revered, I think, if there is actual, complete, full death.
I agree. As much as I don't want to lose anybody, I agree with you.
No, I don't want to lose anyone. I don't want Steve Rogers to die, but I just think he should.
Okay.
And I'm also content with the fact that I know Thor's not going to die, because basically Thor's going to become a guardian of the galaxy, and it's just going to be great.
I like that idea.
Thor, Rocket, and Groot on their adventures. That's the real guardians that we need.
Just the three of them.
Well, that's the only way they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
They can't have Drax anymore. Not without James Gunn. Oh, it's all a mess.
A big mess. But hopefully this podcast isn't a mess.
Well, who knows if it is or not.
Some wonderful random
fun.
Tangents, but
It's fun.
yeah.
We gotta have fun. We have fun doing this. It's been very nice to be now halfway through the MCU edition.
3 more movies.
We have 3 more movies to go, and they are Thor, Iron Man 3, and Thor: The Dark World. Next week we are doing Thor, and I'm very excited because I think I'm going to like this out of them all the best.
And
if
then
that doesn't make sense.
And then I get to call you Thorgan.
You do, even though I disregard that nickname because I look nothing like Thor. And
you're beardy and
yes, it's the only thing.
Accenty and beardy.
It's the only thing. Accent. I don't have the same accent though. Although, given an opportunity, I could do an impression of Thor.
You could. So maybe we'll get some Thorgan. Will you promise some Thorgan to the people next time?
I will promise to the people that I will do my impression of Thor, because I think it's quite good actually.
Okay.
Like, I have a few impressions that I know I can do quite well. Jaime Lannister also happens to be one of them.
Oh.
But, yeah.
Well, now that next episode is going to blow up, because I know everybody wants to hear Thorgan.
That's something for everybody to look forward to.
Yes.
But, Jeannine, thank you for doing another one of these with me. This is very fun. Where can everybody find you? What do you get up to?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jeannine the Bean. I have a tea public shop at G9 Design. And you can find me schmodowning on the Schmodown as Jeannine the Machine.
Which, the Machine, of course, the best last name of anyone. Are you still the only person in the Schmodown
Who doesn't have a last name?
Who doesn't have a last name.
Pretty sure, yeah. I think I'm just the machine in the Schmodown world.
Very unique.
Yeah.
Very unique. I love it. Okay, guys, you can find me on the Twitters at the Purple Dom with the 3 instead of the E in the, because 3 is the magic number. Don't ask me why, it just is. You can also find me on Instagram at the Purple Dom with no 3 because Instagram likes me and Twitter doesn't. You can find this show, as you are probably listening to it now, on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, and where you can also find It's a Wonderful podcast with me and Nolan Dean, where we discuss, usually in a rather silly way, but sometimes in quite a nice, legitimate, serious conversation way, older movies, usually, or 95% of the time from before 1970. And it's very fun, and it's a discovery of older movies that we feel the film community needs, because everybody's forgetting about older movies, and they are great, and they are wonderful. Hence, it's a wonderful podcast. So yeah, we always do that. That goes up every Friday on this very feed, and you can find this feed on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox, and probably many, many other podcast providers. Probably your favourite podcast provider. It is on there. Unless it's Google I'm not quite sure about Google Podcast. That's a weird one. Should probably try and do something with Google Podcasts. Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud now. Guys, thank you all for listening. Follow the podcast feed on Twitter as well at It's a Wonderful One with the number 1, and to see all the new episodes of that and any more episodes of this show, whatever it ends up being called, with me and Jeannine the Machine. So yes, I'm going to say bye now, and I'm going to do what I do to Nolan every week on It's a Wonderful One and say, Jeannine, see us out. That wasn't as fun as Nolan does it, Jeannine.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Bye, guys.
Bye.